In some places on the internet, calling a game a walking simulator is supposed to be a detrimental term, but for me, and on higher playing games, it never has been and never will be, because I love me a story-focused game. A Walk with YiaYia, which translates from Greek to A Walk with Granny, is not only a emotionally charged and sentimental story-focused game, it's also genuinely a walking simulator, because the entire game takes place with you taking your granny for a walk around the block. She had a fall a few months ago and is now feeling very unconfident, shaky on her feet, and doesn't feel confident enough to go outside on her own. And indeed, the opening scenes are you cajoling her to the point where she's like, fine, I will go outside then, so that you can try and get her motion up and running again. This sparks off an interesting wander around the block for about a 90-minute experience where, as she comes across different things like birds, the kids playing across the street, the rain starts to fall, and you have different pauses where she needs to catch her breath and get her bearings and feel confident on her feet again, she'll tell little bits of story about her past. So you get to discover child granny, teenage granny, war granny, everything that you've kind of got for her different stages towards getting married and starting a family. So you get little frames and insights into her life. But it also asks some interesting questions from a demographic of things that you don't really see or hear about in games, and not really in film or TV too much either. And this is why I was really drawn and interested to this game, more from a personal perspective. So for me, my dad was diagnosed with colon cancer at the end of last year. And although the cancer has been removed, it's almost been like that was the easy part, which I appreciate sounds very odd. But my dad's had a really prolonged and elongated recovery since. And so it's always been about trying to build up his confidence, make sure that his mobility is being looked after, so that we can try and get him a quality of life back again. Because once you stop that kind of drive and push for being able to be mobile, your entire world kind of shrinks down and collapses in, and you need to be okay with that if you're making a very conscious decision to do it. It's been very difficult for us throughout all of 2022 to be walking this tightrope balancing act between pushing someone who doesn't necessarily feel confident or wanting to be pushed, as well as dangling the carrot of look at all of these extra things that you can have, and whether or not that elderly person wants to take the bait and whether they think that's enough or not. And it was really the last third of this game where A Walk with YiaYia starts to tackle this specific idea. And it's one of those things where it's very personal to the individual, and there's different ways how this would play out for different people. But A Walk with YiaYia tells a very specific perspective that I appreciate more from the situation I'm in now versus if I'd never had to have cared and looked after my parent beforehand. Because I think I go around charging around going, well, of course you'd want to do that because you'd want to stay alive forever and all of this kind of stuff. Now, we're not going to wander into oh, she goes and kills herself terms. Spoilers, she doesn't. But there's some real nuance in what she feels comfortable doing and the reasons why, and what the carrot and dangling for her is versus what a younger generation portraying this onto her would feel like. And it's an interesting balance that's well told and leaves you food for thought, I would say. Outside of that specific arc, there are other universal themes that are touched on in broad strokes, but without dwelling too much on them. But they make their points without over-labouring them. And there's themes on racism, there's themes on inequality in marriage, there's war-related stuff in here as well, because YiaYia was born in the 30s. So lots and lots to dig into, but they're kept as side morsels, as things Granny remembers along her journey of life and the important things that stick out to her, and some decisions that she wished she'd made differently and some decisions that she still agrees with today. The actual walking around was quite cute. You can hold her hand throughout most of the journey, which I did, and there's some extra side missions such as returning a ball, picking vegetables to make dinner, and some other little bits and bobs hidden around in the background. There are a couple of platforming elements in this game too, where YiaYia has not visions or dreams, but she's kind of, you go off into her imagination. And these play out really well too. And actually, I'd have quite liked a few more of those thrown in for good measure. This is a short experience. It has left an impression with me. This will absolutely not be for everyone because it is deliberately slow paced and more around kind of breadcrumbs for thoughts, which you can then take away and digest later on. But A Walk with YiaYia is a great experience for those of you that will enjoy this type of thing. And it's great to see this demographic seen and heard in games. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/Higher Plane Network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.